Thanks everybody for joining me. They want you to celebrate. They want you to look at the headlines, heave a sigh of relief, and go back to sleep. But let me be absolutely clear right now. If you think this is over, if you think the danger has passed, you are walking blindfolded into a buzzsaw. We are hearing reports today that federal agents are pulling back from Minneapolis. We are hearing that Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino is packing his bags. Immediately, the narrative machine kicks into gear. They tell us, look, the pressure worked, the administration is retreating. Democracy has won. Do not believe it. Do not believe it for a single second. Make no mistake, what we are witnessing in Minneapolis is not a surrender. It is not a retreat. It is a tactical repositioning. When a predator steps back into the shadows, it does not mean it has stopped hunting. It means it is looking for a better angle to strike. There are rumors swirling that Chief Bovino was relieved of duty. The Department of Homeland Security denies it, of course. They play these semantic games while our communities are turned into occupied zones. But we have to look at the history here. We have to look at the methodology of this administration. This president does not operate by the standard rules of governance. He operates on the logic of optics and ego. He knows that firing people creates martyrs. He knows that a public dismissal encourages media attacks and undermines his own narrative of total control. So what does he do? He promotes them to irrelevance. He shuffles the deck chairs on the Titanic and calls it a renovation. He moves the pieces around the board to confuse you, to exhaust you, and to make you think that something has changed when, in reality, the machine is still running at full capacity. They say Trump has lost faith in Governor Noem's ability to run the show. Think about that phrasing. Run the show. As if the lives of American citizens, the civil liberties of human beings in Minneapolis, are nothing more than a television production that needs a better director. This is the level of cynicism we're up against. So, while the pundits might be popping champagne, claiming that the surge is over, I am telling you to keep your eyes open. This is not the end of the operation. This is a transfer of power. This is a shifting of weight. Trump is not giving up on his plan to surge forces into our cities. He is simply realizing that the current approach is too loud, too visible, and too politically expensive. He is not putting down the weapon. He is putting a silencer on it. Do not let them gaslight you into thinking this is peace. This is the quiet before the next storm. And if we lower our guard now, if we accept this pullback as a victory, we pave the way for something far more calculated and far more dangerous to take its place. So they tell us that Minneapolis might be getting out from under the thumb of the president. They want you to believe that because one official is leaving, the boot has been lifted from the neck of the city. But let's look at what is actually happening. This isn't a liberation. This is a corporate restructuring of state violence. It is not freedom. It is simply under new management. We are seeing the classic bureaucratic two-step that defines this administration. The president knows that firing people outright is messy. It creates headlines he doesn't control. It makes him look chaotic. So what does he do? He uses the machinery of the state to promote to irrelevance. He shuffles personnel into dark corners of the bureaucracy where they can't do any more PR damage while he brings in the real closers. And who is the closer? Tom Homan. You need to understand the gravity of this. They're replacing a stumbling, controversial figure with someone who knows exactly how to operate the gears of the deportation machine. This isn't a de-escalation. It is a refinement of the weapon. They are swapping out a blunt instrument for a scalpel, but the intent remains exactly the same: control, domination, and the enforcement of the president's will upon American cities. But the most chilling part of this story, the part that should make your blood run cold, is not what the president is doing. We expect this from him. It is what the opposition is doing. Read the transcript of the president's social media post. He says Governor Walz called him. He says it was a very good call. He says they actually seem to be on a, quote, similar wavelength. Let that sink in. a similar wavelength. What does it mean when the supposed guardians of our democracy, the opposition leaders who are meant to stand up to authoritarian overreach, are suddenly on a similar wavelength with the very man sending federal agents into their streets? It means the political class is closing ranks. It means that when the cameras are off, when the press releases are filed, there is a handshake taking place behind closed doors. The president told the governor that they are looking for any and all criminals. And the governor, the report says he, very respectfully understood. Respectfully understood. Is that what we demand from our leaders when our neighbors are being targeted? Respectful understanding? No, we demand resistance. We demand outrage. We demand a line in the sand that says, you will not cross. But instead, we get a polite phone call. We get coordination. We get the normalization of the abnormal. The White House is now in full damage control mode. They are trying to distance themselves from the most inflammatory rhetoric, claiming they never authorized certain statements, claiming they never called citizens prey. Do not be fooled by this sudden outbreak of politeness. They are not walking back the policy. They are scrubbing the PR. They are trying to make the unacceptable look palatable. They are trying to make the occupation of an American city look like a standard administrative procedure. This is how liberty dies. Not with a bang, but with a very good call and a mutual understanding between powerful men who have decided that your rights are a negotiable asset. Now, I want you to listen very closely to the words coming out of the White House, because they are engaging in one of the most aggressive campaigns of gaslighting we have seen in modern history. The president stands up and tells us that they have had, quote, tremendous success. He lists American cities like they are conquered territories on a map. Washington, D.C., Memphis, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana. He points to these places and says, look, we touched them, and now they are better. But I ask you, better for whom? When they say success, they are not talking about the single mother who can finally walk down her street without fear. They are not talking about communities that are thriving, or economies that are booming, or children who are fed. No. When they say success, they mean submission. They mean they have successfully deployed force. They mean they have successfully intimidated the population. They mean that the silence of a community living in fear is what they call peace. They throw this statistic at us. Crime is way down. They use it as a shield. They use it as a bludgeon. Why are you complaining, they ask. The numbers are down. Let me tell you something about those numbers. You can drive crime down to zero if you turn every street corner into a checkpoint. You can drive crime down to zero if you strip search the Constitution and suspend civil liberties. But that is not a free society. That is a prison yard. And we refuse to accept the metric of a prison warden as the standard for a free people. And then comes the ultimate insult. The president claims that he and the governor, a man elected to protect the people of his state, are on a similar wavelength. Do you understand how insulting that is to the intelligence of the American voter? They are telling you that the differences between them are just theater. They are telling you that when push comes to shove, the establishment, red or blue, agrees on one fundamental thing, that force is the answer to social problems, that policing is the answer to poverty, that deportation is the answer to despair. The White House is currently scrambling. They are in damage control mode. You see the spokesperson coming out, twisting themselves into knots, trying to deny that the president uses dehumanizing language, trying to claim they never viewed the people as prey. They are terrified of the backlash. They know the optics are bad. But do not let them distract you with the language game. It doesn't matter if they use polite words in the press briefing room if the policy on the street is brutality. It doesn't matter if they claim to be making it better if their version of better involves tearing families apart and ruling by decree. They are trying to sell you a fantasy where the suspension of your rights is for your own good. They are trying to sell you the idea that safety only comes at the end of a federal rifle. That is the lie at the heart of this entire operation. And it is a lie we have a moral obligation to reject. Now, if you want to understand just how disastrous this situation has truly become, you don't look at the Democrats, you look at the Republicans. Something remarkable is happening. We are seeing cracks in the monolith. We are hearing dissent from the most obedient corners of the political machine, senators like Ted Cruz, representatives like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the National Rifle Association. The very architects of the current order are suddenly standing up and shouting, "Stop! This is too much!" But you need to ask yourself the hard question, why? Why are they suddenly finding their conscience? Do you think they woke up this morning and decided that the violation of civil liberties in Minneapolis is a moral bridge too far? Do you think they looked at the footage of federal agents in our cities and felt a sudden pang of empathy for the working class families being terrorized? Don't make me laugh. They aren't speaking out because they care about justice. They are speaking out because they care about power. They are looking at the polls. They are looking at the swing voters in the suburbs, the people they need to hold on to their seats, and they are realizing that the promise of law and order looks a lot less appealing when it arrives in the form of a federal occupation force. They are realizing that nothing, absolutely nothing that was promised to the average voter has materialized. Where is the economic relief? Where is the better health care? Where is the infrastructure? It's gone. It vanished into the ether. And what did they burn their entire legislative session on? The one big, beautiful bill. A bill that is failing. A bill that is unpopular. A bill that has done nothing but expose their incompetence. So now these politicians are terrified. They see the ship sinking and they are scrambling for the lifeboats. They are trying to distance themselves from the president, not because his policies are wrong, but because his policies are losing. It is the height of hypocrisy. They were perfectly happy to ride the tiger when it was eating the faces of their enemies. They were perfectly happy to cheer on the rhetoric when it energized their base. But now that the fire they started is threatening to burn down their own political careers, they want to play the role of the firefighter. They call for hearings. They call for investigations. They say we need to turn down the temperature. But where were they when the temperature was rising? Where were they when the kindling was being laid? They were right there, striking the matches. Do not give them credit for this. This is not a moral awakening. This is a rat fleeing a sinking ship. They are trying to save their own skins while the country burns, and we see right through it. They aren't afraid of tyranny. They are afraid of losing the next election. And that is the only language they have ever understood. So, where does this leave us? We are standing at a critical juncture. And frankly, this is the most dangerous moment of all, because the temptation right now, the overwhelming temptation, is to look at this temporary pause, to look at the headlines about pulling back and to say, we did it, the storm has passed. Do not fall for it. We have not seen a single solid sign that this president is actually changing course. We have not seen a change in policy. We have not seen a repeal of the orders. All we are seeing is a tactical pause. It looks for all the world like they plan on toning things down just enough, just long enough for the backlash to die down. They are waiting for the cameras to leave. They are waiting for you to get distracted by the next scandal, the next crisis, the next shiny object. And the very moment you turn your back, the moment the pressure lifts, the machinery will roar back to life. They might try to pivot. You are going to hear talk about a kinder, gentler deportation force. They will try to sanitize the brutality. They will try to put a smiling face on the enforcement of unjust laws. But I ask you, is there a kind way to raid a home at dawn? Is there a gentle way to tear a father away from his children? Is there a polite way to occupy a city? No, there is not. We cannot accept a rebranded version of the same oppression. We cannot accept authoritarianism light We need to understand that the only reason they are hesitating, the only reason they are blinking, is because the people stood up. It is because the pressure from the streets, and yes, the pressure from the polling data, made the cost too high. So now is not the time to go quiet. Now is the time to get louder. We need sustained, relentless pressure. We don't just want rumors of a pullback, we want guarantees. We don't just want hearings that are nothing more than political theater. We want real investigations with subpoena power. We want to know who gave the orders. We want to know who authorized the tactics. We want accountability for every single dollar spent and every single right violated. If the Republicans in Congress are serious about their sudden concern for liberty, let them prove it. Let them stop funding these operations. Let them pass legislation that actually protects American cities from federal overreach. Until they do that, their words are nothing but wind. The house is still on fire, my friends. They have merely stopped pouring gasoline on it for 5 minutes. Do not mistake that for putting out the flames. Stay vigilant, stay angry, and do not let them move the line 1 inch further.